to you about my role as a primary school teacher. I'm a teacher in St Mary's Primary School in Mulliban. I'm not sure if any of you are past pupils or if you know where Mulliban is. No? Mulliban is about 10 miles from Newry, and it's set in a rural area. We have 315 children. I've been teaching in the school now for 18 years. When I first left college and I had started to teach, I got a post in Mulliban for 1 year. There were 180 pupils in the school at that time, and over the last 18 years the school has now grown to its capacity of 315 pupils. It's nearly doubled in that length of time. This has been due to a lot of families who had emigrated during the 80s, returning to Mulliban and setting up home, and building houses has been a large feature of the village in the last 20 years. So therefore, as a result of this, our numbers have increased from 180 to 315. We have welcomed new families to our village and to our school, and I suppose we're very proud that a lot of our families have chosen to come to our school. All the children from the village come to the school. We're a mixed school, so we have boys and girls both. We have a nursery school which is for 3 to 4-year-olds, and it's in its own separate building, and they have quite a focus on outdoor play in the nursery, so they have quite a large garden, and the children in the nursery would spend a lot of time outside. We have foundation, which is from 4 to 6-year-olds. It's P1 and P2. And then we have Key Stage 1, which is 6 to 8-year-olds. That's P3 and P4. And then we have Key Stage 2, which is 9-year-olds to 11, and they are P5, P6 and P7. A day in the life of a teacher, I suppose it's a very busy day. I find that I'm in school from approximately 8:30 in the morning. I come in order to prepare for the day. I'm teaching a primary 6 class, and I have been teaching primary 6, primary 7 for I started off for about 12 years, and then I taught primary 5 for about 3-4 years, and now I'm teaching again in primary 6. As I said, a day in the life of a teacher in a primary school is very busy. From we start in the morning right through until 3:10, it's go, go, go the whole time. We don't have any free classes during the day, and we have the same children from morning until 3:10. Just to give you a wee idea of our school. This is our school website, and we have our school crest as well. The school crest has been designed by pupils in the school. The hands symbolise friendship. The church symbolises the community in which our school is a very strong member of, and our academic learning, our children blackboard. Again, the website is used as a means of communication between school and family life at home. You can see we have our links as well, and as this picture shows, this involves a lot of training. There's continued training and professional development in a primary school. We have, each of the year groups have a blog, so probably the way we work it is that we have a page for each class, and then we have a blog where day-to-day work can be uploaded to. So you can see that the nursery children were baking on Friday. So all information is shared with parents from school to home life. I suppose with a lot of parents using mobile devices, using technology even during at home or at work, parents can see what the children are doing on a day-to-day. So it encourages a lot of communication between children and their parents, so the parents know what they've done during the day. So there's a link when they go home in the evening that the parents know exactly what has been going on in school. So as you can see, these are our nursery children, and they were making a little snack, they were baking bread, and a lot goes on in the nursery. The nursery day is from 9 o'clock until 1:30. So they have their meals as well in school, but the contact between the teacher and the children in the nursery is constant from 9 o'clock until 1:30. The teacher doesn't have a dinner break. She doesn't have her own coffee break. All breaks, all dinner breaks, you sit with the children in the class and you eat with them. So there's a lot of socialisation with the children in the nursery, but they become very independent. I'm not sure if any of you were in nursery, but you go from being at home where your mommy, your daddy looks after you and provide for you, to being in the nursery where children can put on their own shoes, put on their own coat, they can dress themselves. So there's a big jump in their independence, and it prepares them for coming into school as well. I suppose I'm here to talk about my own experience of how I've landed being a teacher. It's not always easy. I suppose when I was at school, just like you, I attended St Paul's High School in Bestbrick, and when it got to a time that I was deciding what GCSEs I was going to choose, what A levels I was going to choose, support in St Paul's and advice was to think, why did I want to be a teacher? A lot of the advice which was given to us was that teaching is a vocation. My understanding of a vocation was nuns, priests. I couldn't get into my head why everybody was saying that teaching is a vocation. Now I understand what it is. Teaching doesn't finish at 3:10. It doesn't just start at 9 o'clock when you start your teaching. There's a whole world outside of the school building that's involved with teaching as well. And you have to be very much dedicated to teaching. You have to be very devoted to your pupils. I have 32 pupils in my class, and you have to get to know the pupils. It takes a little bit of time. Every pupil is different, every pupil is individual, and it's very important that you cater for the needs of every pupil who's in your care. It's my responsibility that my children are happy in school, that everything that they require is there for them. Their parents drop them off each morning, and I have to make sure that they're safe when they're in school and that they are part of the learning. There's a lot of communication with the pupils, and it's building a trust with the pupils. Pupils are the most important people in the school, but there are other people who are also very important in school, and likewise there's a whole staff room of teachers. We have classroom assistants, we have auxiliary staff, and everybody is equal in school, and it's building a relationship with everybody within the school. So it's very important that I communicate with everybody, with all members of staff, so that everybody knows what's going on in school. So likewise, I have to have a good relationship with everybody in the school. Then we have parents, and likewise, parents play a very important role in the school. They obviously have chosen the school for the little darlings, as we call them, to come into school. And it's important that if they have chosen us to be the educators for their children, that we provide the same service to all the children. Parents are there to help. We have a parents committee, and just recently I was telling Kira that we have just finished 1 year of fundraising, and it's for school funds for the IT department. So it is important that parents feel involved in the school and they know exactly what's going on. Qualifications, as I have mentioned, when I was in secondary school, I had my GCSE subjects, and it was important at that stage that you had good grades in your GCSEs, especially numeracy and literacy. At that stage it was also important that you had a second language, so I took on French at that stage. And I was very interested in IT, so that was an important subject for me to take on. I have a student teacher from St Mary's in Belfast, and she's spending now 10 weeks with me doing teaching practice. So it's like job shadow for the 10 weeks where she's in my class, and she takes some classes during the week teaching children, and I take teaching as well. So we work together, it's like team teaching for the two of us, and then we plan the subjects, and we are teaching together. And just recently, Anna was saying to me how St Mary's and the teaching colleges have now raised the level for GCSEs. It was okay, to get in with a C in GCSE, but now they're raising it up to a minimum of B. So they're looking now for students who have A's in their numeracy and literacy. So, at this stage, it's so important to work for your GCSEs and to make sure that you have grades that when you go to apply for college, that you actually have the grades that you need, that the minimum requirements. A-level subjects, I suppose this was you're very young, 16, 17, choosing A-level subjects, because it can really set out your path in life as to what career you're going to. I suppose I always had it in my head that I wanted to be a teacher, so in 5th year I would be looking at the colleges to see what kind of requirements did they need for me to get in. So I knew I had to work at my GCSEs, and also then when I started my A-levels to work even harder for my A-levels. Choosing the subjects was difficult because I also had to look to see in the colleges what subjects they provided, what courses they provided in the college. At that stage IT was kind of the new course in St Mary's. And so therefore for me, I had to be thinking about getting a good grade in my GCSE. It was called computing at the time. And then again in my A-level, in order for me to get into the Department of IT for teaching IT. I chose religion and I chose economics as well as my A-levels. And like that, 6th and 7th year wasn't easy. It did require a lot of study, but because I had done quite a lot of study for my GCSEs, then I kind of was in that pathway of working, and well, I knew what I wanted. Teaching can also, that's the 4-year course was going for teaching, but some of my friends, they didn't want to do teaching and they wanted to go to different areas, different colleges and different degrees, and they did that, and at the end of their college they decided then they wanted to teaching, and you could go down the path for doing a postgraduate for 1 year. And I know that it is, it's very difficult to get onto that course now. So if you were thinking of teaching, it is important that you start thinking about it now and how you're going to get to that path. Extracurricular subjects for teaching, it's always important that you're involved, whether it be in school life, whether it be in community life, whether it's your parish life, but something that extends beyond your academic achievement. I was involved in the local football club. I played camogie. I was involved with the youth club. And you know, when you get to a stage with the youth club where you can also help out then with the younger years as well, it's also very important, because what you're building up is you're building up your CV of how you're involved in different places. Some of you will be involved with music, maybe drama, some of you sports, dance, whatever it is. I know at this stage you're beginning to think how you're going to prepare for your GCSEs, but it's also important to keep kind of your extracurricular activities coming along as well. I know a niece of mine, she wanted to do teaching, and likewise when she got to 5th year, of course the work is getting more intense, but she kept her music on, and it gave her just that wee break every week to go out and to play her music. And likewise then when she was applying for college, she had that little extracurricular activity to do. In school, you know, you may have some, do you still have some free periods during the week? Yeah. I know I got involved with helping out in 1st and 2nd year classes, year groups, with English and numeracy, working along with pupils. I got involved with typing classes, where I went along to typing classes, and you know, rather than just sitting and maybe just passing the time, I actually went and did things in school, which when I was applying, when I was filling out my application form, I was able to write them down and to include them. So now is the time to get involved, maybe it's after schools, clubs, whatever it is, to start thinking how can you be involved. My training to be a teacher, I talked about my subjects, and that really started in 5th year with my GCSEs and my A-levels. I worked part-time in a shop, and I don't know if the system is quite similar now, but on a Thursday your A-level results come out, and I was working in the shop when my A-level results come out. So I knew that I had got the grades, but I mean, at 18 years of age, you still, when you get your grades, it's still a big change in life. Am I going to make the right decision? And with my A-level results coming in the post, I also had got an acceptance from St Mary's in Belfast. So immediately I knew within opening 2 letters, I certainly wasn't expecting the letter of acceptance coming from St Mary's the day I was opening up my A-level results. But within about 10 minutes, I knew I had my acceptance, and I knew that I had the results to get to St Mary's. So my decision was made. In the next couple of days, I had got offers from different colleges. I think it's your UCAS, is it? That's the, yes, that you fill out, and you go into a system. So I had choices then as to where I wanted to go. So it took a couple of days, even though I knew I wanted to do teaching, I had to think about and had to discuss with the school as to was I making the right decision. Did everybody else think that I should go on to be a teacher, or was there something there that, you know, maybe didn't suit me? Was I not suited for it? As I said, the application had been sent in 7th year, and it's quite a lengthy, you know, application at that stage. I'm sure it's still the same. And, you know, the most important thing is that you have it well written, that you have taken good time to write it. It does take time, and, you know, to make sure that your application is written well, that your spelling is correct, that your grammar is correct, and that you have put in everything that's very important for you to get into teaching. When I then, for St Mary's in the 7th year, after the application went in, you're invited then for an interview. And again, preparation for the interview is very important. I prepared questions that I thought the college may ask me. I thought about myself. How have I got to this stage? What have I prepared? What have I done? So that when I went into the interview, I was sitting at a table with 3 college lecturers sitting across the table from me. It was the first time that I actually had been faced with this situation, and I'd say for the first couple of minutes I couldn't speak because I was just so nervous, even though I had prepared well. So maybe a wee thing is to prepare with interviews. If you get interviews here in school, maybe somebody else at home could interview, just asking the questions, because just for those first couple of minutes it can be very daunting when there's 3 people across the table from you asking you. Again, what started me with that interview was the fact that I live on a farm, and they asked me about where I had come from, and I started telling them, and I thought, well, I don't really have prepared this. This is nothing really to do with teaching. Why is he asking me this? But it was all to do with my communication skills and how I answered the questions. That when I was faced with a question that obviously they knew that we would have been prepared for, how was I going to deal with it? And you know, that one area that I was familiar with at home was kind of the question that settled me and kind of got me then talking about me as a person, me as a teacher, and what my ambition, what really was. The grades came, and then I was accepted onto the course, and then St Mary's. I suppose there were, when I started nursery, there were 5 of us who started nursery who lived quite close beside me, and I was the only girl kind of in the village who, and there was 5 boys in the class, so all of my friends were actually boys, and I suppose one of the boys then, we were in the same class from primary school, we went to St Paul's, and then we went on then to college together. So that transition from home to college, I had a friend with me, and even though it was, you know, it's great, you're leaving home at 18 years of age, but when you go away to college, it's a completely different situation. You're in a house, or you're in halls, and there's nobody there when you come in the evening to have your dinner ready for you, to have your clothes washed. So even though it's very exciting, it can be a big change for you. It's a big change in life. I found St Mary's, it was quite similar to school life in that there were small classes. They actually had a register each morning, that when you went into class you had to register. I'd say for me, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. If I had to go to another college where I could just, you know, kind of come in and out, I don't think I would have been at college half the time, because it would have been easier for me to stay at home than it would have been to go. So that kind of environment suited me, because somebody needed to be looking over me, that if I wasn't at school, why was I not at college for that day? But that was just me. It can be challenging. As I say, you're in a house, and you're in a house maybe with 5 or 6 other people, and you may know some of these people. You may know them very well, but you might find that when you're living with them, it's a completely different situation. Everybody has their own ways of living. Everybody comes from a different home, and when you put 5 or 6 people who have come from different homes into one house, that can be quite challenging. Some people want the kitchen kept very clean. Some people couldn't care less if the saucepans are stacked up to the ceiling, and it's a mix of personalities all in the one house. Plus, when you're living at home, I suppose there's always somebody there saying to you, have you got your work done for school? Are you up early? Have you got everything you need? Whereas when I was in Belfast, I was also faced with, I had to organise my own study time. There were assignments to be finished. I had to have assignments finished. It's much easier to go to get into a taxi and go to the bottle on Thursday night when you know that you have an assignment to have finished for a Friday morning. So you have to make those decisions as well, but it's you who's making the decisions. It's not somebody at home who's saying to you, you know, that this, you need to have that finished, you need to have it done. So the first year was quite challenging. once you get into what's expected from you, and you know, deadlines are deadlines. If you have to have an assignment finished for 11 o'clock, you had to have it in for 11 o'clock. There's no such thing as going at 12 o'clock with it and hoping for the best that it would be accepted. It just didn't happen. We had teaching practice when we were in college as well, where you'd spent a period of time in a primary school. So for each of the years I had 6 to 8 weeks in a primary school, and you went to different age groups. That was where you prepared lessons and you actually stood up in front of the children and you taught the lesson. Going from sitting in school yourself to maybe 6 months later actually going out and teaching a class was quite an experience, but you have a lot of paperwork to do, to plan as well. And you know, you could be in a class with 32 children and not one child is actually listening to you. So you have to think about, are you ready, are you prepared, are you doing work for the children that is of their level and of their interest as well. Some of the qualities which you need to be a teacher. Approachable, I've mentioned earlier. You know, that children can come and talk to you. You hear all sorts. We kind of say to, you know, children tell you a lot of things. Some of it is true, some of it, children have great imagination. It can be really created from their own mind. And what they tell you, you kind of have to think, you have to investigate further for this. Again, but it's very important that children see you as somebody who they can trust while they're in school, somebody who they can talk to, and again, somebody who will help them. Again, staff, I mentioned, you work with a whole group of staff in school. So I'm the IT coordinator for the school. So on a day-to-day basis, if a computer doesn't work, if an interactive whiteboard doesn't work, if a printer doesn't work, if they're looking for an email open that won't open, children and staff can come to me. So it's to try to get that when I'm teaching, also that I could be teaching something very important, but likewise the teacher who comes to me might think what they need is very important as well. So again, it's to try to find the balance of how you help others and that others can come to you for help. A good listener and being patient. I know that whenever I tell my children, for example, when I'm coming here today, you know, it's important that you tell younger children that if you are going away, you know, why you're going away, that, you know, that if you just have disappeared out of the room and are away for an hour, that they wonder why this is. So it's important that you say to them, you know, before I came today, I just said to them that I was going to school to tell them all about their school and about their work and all that. And they're happy because they know I'll be back again at lunchtime. So it's good that if they have any wee queries about that, that you can listen to them. Patient. You need a lot of patience in primary school. And children can, you know, it takes them a long time to get organised in the morning, and the speed at which you're working at may not match their speed. So there's a lot of patience required. Being organised and having good planning, so that when you go in the morning, that you know exactly what you're teaching for the rest of the day, and that you have everything planned. Being enthusiastic and motivated. I suppose you never ask a child to do something that you're not prepared to do yourself. PE, you know, whatever the children you're asking them to do, you have to demonstrate first, even though you might find it the toughest thing ever. We do outdoor pursuits in school, and I know that for me it would be coming down the zip line, but I know I have to do it before the children do it. Because if they see me doing it first, it eliminates their fear. Some children will just get up and go ahead and do it. But for some children, that's the biggest step they're ever going to take, is climbing to the top of a staircase and come down on the zip line. But I know I have to do it. So you just have to get on with it. So you have to be enthusiastic, you have to be motivated, you have to keep going all the time with them. A team player, especially in school, in primary school, you always need the assistance and the help from somebody else. So what you expect other people to do for you, you have to equally give back to them. Sense of humour. I mean, there's so many funny stories in a school, and you know, you have to go with them. Just recently I had this chain on, and one of the pupils came up to me and he said, first of all, he says, "I like your chain." I said, "Thank you, Jack, that's good." And he says, "It's my mummy's birthday in 2 weeks." And he says, "Would you mind telling me where you bought it so that I can go and get it?" So that was okay, I told him where it was. And then the next thing he said to me on the Friday, he said, "Do you know, miss, that chain you've on," he says, "you just need to be very careful." He says that there's no robbers over the weekend, because he says, "I wouldn't want them to steal you and the chain over the weekend." So that was his, he was beginning to fret, and I says, "Well, Jack, it's not expensive. I don't think any robbers are going to take me away, because they'll leave me back very quick, and they'll not want the chain either." So, you know, you have to work with the children, and as I said, they can tell you lots of stories. They can tell you things that go on at home. They can tell you, they're very witty, they're very funny, but again, sometimes you just have to think about, is it a 100% truth? Skills, I mentioned before, communication is very important, that you can communicate with the children and that you're at the level for the children, that you're not using language that's, that they don't understand. So you have to go right down to communicate with them. And you know, in a primary school, you would spend most of your time on your knees, you could be on the floor, on your hands, but you have to get right down in every sense of the word to speak to the children. So communicating the right level of language, and also that if you're playing with a jigsaw, you're down playing with the jigsaw as well, and you're talking to them about the jigsaw. You never stop talking from you go into school until you leave at 3:10. I'm saying 3:10. The children leave at 3:10. You don't actually leave school. You have time to do after school to plan and prepare. So the minimum time would be 4 o'clock that you leave school. Realistically, it's maybe 4:30 or 5 before you actually leave school. So as people say to you, "Oh, you're finished at 3:10. You're never finished at 3:10. It's always later than that. It could be 4, 4:30 before you're ready to leave school. So it's a longer day. Knowledge. It's good to have good knowledge, but it's okay to say, "I don't know." Children amaze you every day in the knowledge which they have. They could come out with something that you've never heard of before, and that's fine to say, "Well, actually, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me. What else do you know? Would you like to share it with the class?" And that's fine, you know, to do that. Creative, as I've said, you could be on your hands and knees. You could be doing footprints using paint, and you could be doing handprints. You have to take your own shoes off, you have to take your own socks off, you have to get your own foot into the paint, and you have to do the print, because children want to see it. They want to see you. If you're measuring your height, they like to measure you first. If you're measuring head span, they like to measure you as well, because they want to compare you with them. So all those measurements, they like that comparison. Creative, you have, you know, just giving things a go. If it doesn't work out the first time, you think about, what could I change, what could I make different? It's thinking of new ways
to have children involved. We do a lot of, I'm sure you do moving images, do you? Where you make little short films. We do a lot of that with children, which combines ICT. They create backdrops in art, they create little characters, they write a story which takes in their literacy, and they put the photographs using iMovie. I'm sure you're familiar with that. Movie maker, book creator, Comic Life, and they tell the story. So rather than it's kind of moving from the pencil and paper, moving into the digital world with them. And again, the children love to see their work on the website so that it's there before they go home in the evening time as well. As I said, the day-to-day roles. This is a sample of a timetable. Class starts at 9:15, and it usually takes in a settling time, and there's routine first thing in the morning. There's reading, where children move to different reading groups, so they're familiar with this now. They have their personal working area organised in that they just take the books with them to their reading group, and we read in their groups. They work with a pair, they have independent reading, and the teacher goes round for reading as well. Roll call and prayers as well. On a Friday we all come together for assembly, and the highlight of the week is Pupil of the Week, where one pupil from each class is chosen to receive a cup and a certificate, and it's for something that they have worked hard at during the week, something that they have shown improvement with, or maybe something that another teacher has come to me and said that Mary has done very well this week with something, and you praise the child. So they love going home with this achievement, and also the picture is uploaded to the website as well. And they love telling grannies and granddads and aunts and uncles. And I suppose speaking to parents, it's kind of like an achievement for that weekend when the child gets it. So it's very important for the week. We'll go with maths for an hour each day, and then we have a weekly tests, which is mental arithmetic, spellings and tables on a Friday. Again, when you do it, the children like to get their mental arithmetic, their spelling and their tables tests back on a Friday, and their achievement is to get 100% in each of these areas. And they work so hard to get that, because again, it's taking the book home and getting it signed and taking it back on Monday. Break is 11:15 until 11 o'clock, and again, children go outside to play, and it's free play. But as a teacher, you have a break time, you have break duty to do. So one day a week, on a Friday, I have to go to the yard to supervise children in the yard, and also to supervise children at 9 o'clock. We have 3 buses who service the school, taking the children and making sure that they're off the bus safely and into class. And again at 3:10, I go out to the buses too to make sure that children are back on the bus. We have English. Religion is an important aspect for all children, and because it's part of our community as well, we teach religion every day to children. Lunch, again, 12:20 to 1:15. Children go outside at 12:20, and we're encouraging more of outdoor play, even though it may be raining today. All our children have been out between 11:15 until 11 o'clock. They all wear a coat. They all have to make sure that they're wrapped up, and it's part of getting out into the fresh air, and it's part of their health and well-being that they're outside and they are playing, that they're not sitting in class for those 15 minutes. And again at lunchtime, there's 2 lunches. The younger children go for their dinner first, while the older children play outside, and then they swap over. And again, everybody be outside, even if it's raining, and it's to ensure the health and well-being of all children. Usually I organise homework between 1:15 and 1:30, and they write it down, and they know exactly what books Again, they need to become more independent by taking their books home each day. In September, first couple of weeks, people forget their books, they forget to write down their homework. We've all sorts of problems, but persistence with them, pupils, and keeping at it, and they get into the routine, and once they know that they must do the homework and that you're checking it each day, they will have it done. Little stickers go very well. We have golden time, where in the class they work towards 15 minutes where they vote for a treat on a Friday. It could be outside games, it could be indoor games like Scrabble, Lego, or it could be a movie. So they get 15 minutes. If there's any problems along the way during the week, they can lose 5 minutes, or they can lose 10 minutes, or they can lose 15 minutes. And you have to stick with that if 2 or 3 children have lost 5 minutes, they've lost 5 minutes of their golden time. And they vote during the week as to which activity they want to have on the Friday. It's a good incentive for pupils to, we have 5 grade areas. It could be behaviour, presentation of their work, manners, just everything like that. Then ICT, in the afternoon we would take a block with it where they would use the ICT room to prepare work. Music, we have the SELB music department who come in, and we have violins, cellos and double bass, and the children get to play an instrument, and on a Tuesday afternoon they have the opportunity then to get lessons for the full year, and they can keep it on then right through. World Around Us is a combined term for literacy, history, geography and science. So it's kind of more of a topic based, and art would be coming in as well. So as you can see, it's quite a packed timetable. You don't have any time for free time. It's go, go, go from you come in the morning. There are opportunities. Our school is involved with a lot of international work. We're linked up with schools across Europe, and more recently we're linked with a school in China. This has brought us on quite a lengthy journey over the last 15 years, in that we now work with schools across Europe. We're working with the schools in Bilbao, which is the north of Spain. We're working with schools in Finland, Greece, Donegal and Italy. It's an excellent project to be involved in. As I said, I'm the ICT coordinator, but I'm the international coordinator as well. And this is where we have applied for quite an amount of money from Brussels in Europe, and it allows our children to work with children in the countries that I'm after naming. So they have, they go on and they have video conferencing with the pupils in Europe. They get the opportunity to write blogs. So they have a Moodle. I'm sure you're familiar with a virtual learning environment. So they can go on to the Moodle and they can post photographs of what they're doing in school, and the children across Europe can see what's going on in St Mary's. Likewise, the children in Europe will put up photographs and pieces of writing to share, so we can see what's going on. So, for example, for weather, in Greece at the minute, it's quite warm, whereas in Finland, it's minus 15 degrees. So the children have an idea of what life is like in Finland, what the children do in Finland. They are packed up with snow, they wear their snowsuits outside, and yet in Greece, the children, it's much warmer for them, and they have a completely different lifestyle. So it's to try to encourage the children to be involved with travel, and that through their years, maybe through college life, through school life, they will have the opportunity to travel. We are working with a school in Barcelona as well, and the children come to our school and they join classes in Malaban for 3 or 4 days, and likewise our children will be going to Barcelona, and they will spend time in their partner school in Barcelona. It's a great opportunity for them. Not all children want to go, but it's a good learning experience that they're away from home and they're flying to Spain for that period of time and staying away in a hotel with their teachers. So from a very early age, we're trying to encourage the children to become more independent and to be thinking their thinking skills. How do they adapt? How do they change in another country? And that instead of thinking that the world is so big, that we're all part of Europe, and that travel within the countries is not that hard to do. There's some of this that said this is the school. I talked about our school crest. This is me in Bilbao, in Spain. We have worked with this school for quite a period of time, and Carmeli, who's the teacher, you can see her here, she's scratching her head. I don't know whether it is that she's thinking, who is arriving now? But the children are in their traditional dress. Carmeli comes once a year to our school, and it's nearly as if she calls Malaban home now. As soon as she gets holidays, she comes and she stays with us. She knows more about Newry and Northern Ireland, I think, than what we do. Again, Finland, this is some of our teachers. Teachers get the opportunity to travel as well. So you can see this is 2 of our teachers who are in Finland in the school. And again, this was maybe February time, and they were out skiing. They were doing cross-country skiing. They were actually fishing in the lake, where they actually had a drill into the frozen lake, and to take fish out from the lake to cook it on the barbecue. So they were getting a feel of what life is like in another country. Pupils working together. We work with a school in Donegal. The school who we work with in Donegal are in the Gaeltacht area, so they speak Irish, and of course our children speak English. So we do communication, video conferencing with the children in Donegal where they're speaking Irish, and we translate it. We have taped lessons as well, where Maria, who's the teacher in Donegal, will tape one of her lessons, and we use this as a video in school to teach our children a second language. So Maria would teach my children Irish, so we would play the lesson, so it's a taped lesson. Likewise, I would teach a lesson in English, and Maria and Carmeli would use it in their schools across Europe as well. So it's all to do with language and increasing our second language, and promoting that you take on a second language, even if it's just simple phrases. When you go to the country, you can communicate. So the children are picking up. We actually have a Mandarin teacher in school at the minute. She's from China, and she's living here in Newry in Church Street. I think it's quite close to here. Lai and May. So they come to school every Thursday, and they teach the children common phrases in Chinese and the colours and the numbers. So again, we have a link with a school in China, and likewise we tape lessons and share it with the children in China. So even though we're working on quite a bit in Europe, we're also working in Asia as well. So the children are being introduced to schools right across Europe or the world. I suppose the big thing in China was that there were 50 children in each class, whereas, well, I suppose we were getting close to it with 32, but the children could see the photographs of how many children was in a room. We have language assistants. Again, I talked about Maya, came from Finland. Maya lived here in Newry, and she taught us Finnish and German for 1 year. Shella was from Galicia in Spain, and she also lived here in Newry, and she came and taught in our school every day. And she taught Spanish, and she taught the culture. And the 2 girls would have travelled out 2 different years on the bus out to school, and we said that they knew more about what was happening in Newry. They brought all the news from Newry out to our school, and they knew everybody on the bus, what was going on. We didn't know they were our point of contact. We worked with children in Liverpool. This is Rock the Boat, where the children in Liverpool came and spent a week with us. And likewise, our children, we went to Liverpool as well and spent a week in their school in Liverpool. So again, giving the children as many opportunities as they can to travel and to be involved. We were then invited to Harrods store in London the week before Christmas, and our school choir, this is them performing, they learned sign language with the school in Liverpool, and they performed in the Harrods store. They were invited by the owner of the store over for a long weekend, and they sang and they performed in Harrods. So again, it was giving them the opportunity of going somewhere nice. And there was no problem for teachers going on any of these trips. Everybody wanted to go and get away. So teaching, again, we do some job shadows where we go and we teach. This is Mrs. Murphy, my vice principal, and she's in the nursery school in Bilbao. And even though the children have limited English, Anne was able to work with the children in the nursery and to do the same work with the children, even though there was a communication. But it was great for the children in Bilbao. They started to pick up words before Anne left. And again, making friends. You know, teachers, when you're in school, you can, as I said, you can be here in school between 9 o'clock and 3. And there's a big world outside there. By the time you go home and correct books and prepare for the next day, it is a nice opportunity to meet friends. This is Carmeli, and you know, likewise with Facebook, with Messenger, with WhatsApp, I'm in constant contact with the European teachers across Europe, and it's lovely. You know, it's lovely communication. They're improving their English, and we have friends right across Europe now at this stage. You have training as well. As I said, you know, teaching just doesn't finish whenever you finish college. This was, well, you probably think we're out here sunning ourselves. This is an in-service training course where some of our staff went to Madrid and they signed up for a drama and acting course. So what they're actually doing here is they're actually dramatising a scene, and then photographs were captured. So it was teachers from all over Europe again coming to work on a project for a week, and they had a lovely time. It was I was recently in Iceland as well for outdoor play. So again, there's plenty of opportunities for you to travel, to be involved, and it's all to do with widening the children's experience. It's what you bring back to the class. Zhuzhou, this was our Bridges to China project, and again, this is me in the school in China. We had little pandas which we bought in China, so we took photographs of different places that we went to. We went to the Great Wall of China, we went to the Summer Palace, we went to the Hidden City, we spent time in school, so wherever we had the panda we took a photograph, and then when we returned we took the pandas back. The children in my class then would book the panda if they thought it was something special like a birthday, or they were going to visit somebody. They would organise that they could take the panda with them home at night, and what they produced was it took photographs of the panda doing different things. They produced PowerPoints, and then we sent the PowerPoints back to the children in China. So again, it's getting to know, our children were getting to know about children in China, what their life is like, what school is like, and likewise the children in China were getting to know what life is like here in Northern Ireland. Erasmus, this is just the projects that we're involved in. There. Again, the connecting classrooms. When I told the children I was going to China last year, they had prepared lots of different pieces of work for the school. They had prepared cards, drawings, so much so that I had to take stuff out of my suitcase again to get the stuff in. They made little bracelets, they did everything that they wanted to send. So, and then as soon as I returned, I don't think it was me they were looking for when they come back. They wanted to hear the stories, because children, it's a real life story for children. you know, you can read from a book and tell them what China is like, but it's actually when you take the photographs back and that you actually tell them that you were in China, at that point, children become really, really interested. I'm sure you see somebody in this picture, do you, that you might recognise? If you look closely, he's well hidden. Anybody see him now? Mr. Fitzpatrick. I don't think anybody recognises him. He looks as if he's been well hidden there. So this was in the Great Wall of China. So your school is actually working with a school in China too. And one of the teachers was here. I think you had maybe a day, you were on staff day or something, a training day, that the Chinese teacher was here with Mr. Fitzpatrick. So this was the group of us who travelled. And we're in the process of planning our next trip to China, where there's 15 representatives from Northern Ireland. Our school is the coordinating school for the trip to China. So we're coordinating the 15 teachers out to China. When I showed this photograph, the children, I was showing the pan, this was a very famous square that we were in. And the one thing the children saw that I never saw when I looked at the photograph was the guy who was standing behind me. So the one thing that they said was, "Oh miss, you've been photobombed, look at he's in there behind you." So I hadn't seen him in the photograph because I was looking at the square, but it was the first thing they had seen. So they love to see the photographs we do on return trips. We always do a presentation for assembly, show photographs and tell the stories of what has happened. This was just a little snapshot we had to do. So if you know what a lip dub is, it's a bit like a mash dub, is it now that you call it? It was a short snapshot of our school, and we had to choose a song, and we had to video a day in the life of the school, but we had a limit of 3 minutes. We had to have all the children included, and we had to have every part of the school. So the P7s took charge of it, they controlled it, and they planned it, and they planned all the teachers to where they were going to be, they planned the pupils. We chose the song, and they were in charge of the videoing and making sure that it was complete in 3 minutes. So I'll play this.